Our next story is from Australia. It has refused a request from China, a request to join a free trade pact. Some of you must have already heard the name. It's called the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. This is one of the world's most extensive free trade agreements. It has a total of 11 countries as signatories, and together they represent 13.4% of the world's GDP. So what is this agreement meant for? Three things. 1. Protecting intellectual property rights. 2. Safeguarding markets from state intervention. And 3. Reducing trade barriers between member states. So what has China requested from this bloc? Membership. It wants to be a part of this agreement, a request it has made repeatedly in the last 2 years. In May 2020, China's Premier Li Keqiang said that China was willing to consider joining this pact. Then in November 2020, the Chinese president also expressed interest. He said China was actively considering joining the agreement. And in September 2021, China formally applied to join the agreement. It's been 12 months. And China's application hasn't got any traction. It is yet to be approved by this pact's member states. Now, why is that? Because the members of this agreement believe that China does not meet the required standards. They say that the CCP's intervention in the Chinese economy is in stark contrast to what this agreement claims to promote, and that is free and fair trade without any state interference. So China's application still remains stuck in transit. Left with no choice, a desperate Beijing has asked Australia to reconsider including China as a member. Reports say the Chinese ambassador to Australia is urgently pushing for talks with the country's federal government. And this is what he told an Australian news network. That while China has been asking for an early start, there's no clear affirmative response from the Australian government yet. So the question is, why is the Australian government not responding? Why would it? China's track record on Australia has been less than ideal. For the last 2.5 years, Beijing has pursued a policy of economic coercion against Canberra. It has issued threats, imposed trade restrictions, banned exports of key ingredients, and undermined Australia's territorial sovereignty. In fact, even now the Chinese media is preaching Australia on why refusing China's application would prove costly. On your screens now is a recent report from the Global Times. Look carefully at what the headline reads. Provoking China is dangerous for Australia as a US proxy. In another Global Times report, China slams Australia for concocting lies against it. The headline sanctimoniously reads, Australia advised to take a rational approach to China's supply chains. I repeat, take a rational approach, says the most irrational country in the world. Australia is clearly in no mood to change its approach. If anything, it is only returning the gesture. It is stalling China's application on purpose to pressurize Beijing into dialing down tensions. Now, this is what the Australian Prime Minister said recently. It is China that has imposed sanctions on Australia. They need to remove those sanctions in order to improve relations. Australia's message is loud and clear. If China wants to do business with it, it will have to be on Australia's terms. And if China wants to join the Free Trade Pact, it will have to prove that it promotes free and fair trade. And last week checked, the two words free and fair were missing from China's dictionary. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.